Alright, this is page P9, 2 to 24 even. It's going to go through really quick. Remember, in order to get credit, you need three things. Alright, I need a label, which usually comes from the problem. So it's going to be P of something. Alright, you're going to have something in there. P for probability, so you're going to say the probability of something. I need to have some outcomes. I need to have the outcome fraction. So that's going to be your favorable outcomes, is what they say in the book. All over your total outcomes. We went over that. And then I'm going to need either your reduced fraction or you can just give me a percent, but it's up to you. Okay? Alright, number 2 is the probability of an even number when you roll a die. Now remember, there's going to be 3 even numbers, 2, 4, and 6, out of the 6 total. Alright, so that's our favorable. That's our total. Now I'm just going to break that down into either 1/2 or you could put 50%. You can even put 0.5 if you want. Alright? 4, very similar. This is the probability of a prime number. Now remember, you have to know a prime number. You have to know that a prime number is the factors can only be 1 or itself. So the prime numbers are 1, 2, 3, and 5. Those numbers are prime. So I'm going to have 4 out of 6, which breaks down into 2/3, or I'm going to say 66 2/3%. Alright? That's it for 2 and 4. Number 6, very similar concept. This time, 6 is the probability of an integer. Well, you have to know an integer is just a whole number and the negatives. And basically, guys, it's just a really fancy way to say no decimal or fraction. So, -2 is an integer. 6 is an integer. 0 is an integer. Alright? But 2/3 is not an integer. Or 0.5 is not an integer. Alright? Well, the integers from 1 to 6 are all of them are integers. There are no half numbers on a die. So it's 6 out of 6, which is 1 or 100%. That's it. Alright, for 8, 10, 12, and 14, you're going to be using this idea that you have 65 pennies, 27 nickels, 30 dimes, and 18 quarters. Now, 8 says the probability of getting a quarter. Well, there's 18 quarters. Alright, that's what I get from right here. And I add them all together. So 65 plus 27 is 92. I am missing 30 dimes. Sorry about that. So I have 65 and 27 is 92, plus 18 is 110, plus 30 is 140. That can be simplified into 9 over 70, so you can divide everything by 9. Or divide everything, by 9. So I divide everything by 2 to get 9 over 70. Or if you want to put 13%, that's just fine as well. Okay. 10, very similar concept. 10 is penny, probability of having a penny or a dime. Alright. So that could be penny or a dime. So I'm going to put, I'm going to add 65 plus 27 together because if I pick a penny, it's good, and a nickel, it's good. So I do 65 plus 27 over 140, which is 92 over 140, which is 19 over 28, or that's going to be 68%. Alright, that's it. 12. The probability of not a nickel is going to be 27 over 140, which is going to be about 19%. 14. This is the probability of a value of less than 20 cents. Right? That means that you could have a penny, a nickel, or a dime. The easiest way to think about it is not a quarter. So not a quarter. So I'm going to do 1 minus 18 over 140. You know what I'm going to do? Yeah. Let me make that a little bit better. So let me undo that a little bit. It's kind of hard to read. So 1 minus 18. So 14, I just did it on a new page, so it's a little bit easier to read. The probability of less than 20 cents, I'm going to say that's the probability of not a quarter. Now, you guys remember, whenever you have not, you can do 1 minus the probability of a quarter. So I'm going to do 1 minus 18 over 140. So I do 140 minus, which is 140 over 140 minus 18 over 140. I'm going to end up with the probability of not a quarter is going to be 122 over 140. All right, that's going to simplify down to about exactly 61 over 70, or about 87%. Now, guys, you could have just, if you didn't want to do the not part, you could have just added 65 plus 27 plus 30 to get 122 as well, and then put that over 140. So that was an option. All right, that's it for 14. All right, so students in a class are randomly drawing cards numbered 1 through 28 from a hat to determine the order in which they will give their presentations. Find each probability. So 16 is going to start off with the probability of 1 or 28. Since the probability is of 1 or 28, I'm going to say 1 out of 28 or 1 out of 28. Or 3.6%. 18. Probability of not 1. Remember, the probability of 1, it's 1 minus the probability of 1. So not is 1 minus. So when you see that word not, you think of 1 minus the probability of 1. So I do 1 minus 1 over 28, or it's just going to be 27 over 28, which is about 96%. All right, 20, probability of greater than 16. So I'm going to think of the numbers bigger than 16. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So 12 numbers are bigger than 16 out of 28 total. So 12 over 28 is going to break down into 3/7, or about 43%. Right? And that's it for 20. All right, so number 22 is going to use this chart right here. Remember, it says experimental. That's the big key. So experimental probability, which means you have to use the chart. All right. Now, it says the probability that there will be at least, that 3 of the coins will be at probability of at least, that's important, at least 2 will be heads. All right. So look, this one has 3 heads. So that one's good. This one has 2 heads, so I count that one. This one has 2 heads, I count that one. This one has 2 heads, I count one. I don't count that 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 one. So I have to add to get my total, my favorable. So I get the probability of at least 2 heads. I'm going to do 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6. So 10 plus 12 is 22 all over. the total is all these. This one plus 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 that one. So and I got 50, which is about 11 out of 25, or 44%. Now, the theoretical probability, that's the part they want to talk about. So theoretical probability so we can put an EP there for experimental because that's what actually happened. All right, the theoretical probability is, okay, there were 4 choices that worked and 4 that didn't. So there was 4 out of 8, which is 1/2. Okay, and that's why the theory said it's 50%, but the experimental is 44%. All right, so number 24 says a new study finds that the incidence of a heart attack while taking a certain diabetes drug is less than 5%. Should a person with diabetes take this drug? Should they take the drug if the risk is less than 1%? So I think this question is really about how you feel. Personally, I feel 5% chance of a heart attack is a big risk. Maybe I would look for other options. But less than 1% makes me feel more safe about the drug. And your answers could vary. Maybe you don't think 1% is enough. All right? But I think the biggest thing is understanding that 5% risk is worse than less than 1% risk. So however you explain that's good. And that's it for this assignment. That's it. 12 minutes, guys. It took me 12 minutes going through every little step. I don't think it should have taken you much longer than this. And just remember, there are 2 mistakes on there, guys. So there are 2 mistakes throughout this little assignment.